Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was a massive disaster for Disney and for Kevin Feige. Box office flops and disappointments, streaming shows that quite frankly were not well received. And at the end of the day, they did everything they could to move away from Phase 4 as fast as possible. They ended it early with Wakanda Forever. It wasn't supposed to be the last part of Phase 4, but that's what they did. They changed it on the fly. And now, the next MCU release that comes out just in a few days, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, is supposed to set the stage for Phase 5 of the MCU. There's a lot riding on this. Oh, it's going to set up this, it's going to set up that, it's going to be so important for what we're doing. But unfortunately, the first early reviews, even from the critics, spell bad news for Marvel. Ant-Man 3 Quantumania reviews, what are the critics' first reactions? And when we saw them a week ago put out some social media reactions, it was clear that even some of the biggest shills had bad things to say about this series. Well, now the review embargo has lifted, and as you can see, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania over on Metacritic is sitting at a 50. A 50 from the critics. When you look over on Rotten Tomatoes, it's not much better. Now, of course, Rotten Tomatoes is an aggregate, so it's just going to say, hey, what percent are positive, what percent are negative, where Metacritic actually takes the scores into account. Right now, Quantumania is sitting at a 58% from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes, which is far lower than even Thor: Love and Thunder. And right now, this movie isn't even expected to make Thor: Love and Thunder numbers. And with the budget that they put into this, with all this writing on this, it looks like Phase 5 could get off to just as much of a disappointment as Phase 4 ended with. Let's look at some of these reviews too. A 50, I cannot believe that it's down to a 50 right now. Again, Thor: Love and Thunder was at a 57 from the critics. The audience obviously did not like Thor: Love and Thunder, but let's look at the breakdown. 13 positive scores, 20 mixed reactions, and 6 negative reviews. And even some of the positive ones don't seem overly positive about this, to be honest with you. Look at this one. This is all this they said. To say any more would spoil the film, but rest assured, it's top drawer MCU. Wow, what an incredible one-sentence update about that really says a lot about what you're talking about. For better or worse, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is the most overtly sci-fi film in this series, and on that level, it succeeds very well. Okay, you got IGN with the 70, some 63s, still technically positive. Then we start getting into some of the mixed reviews. Quantumania is not all dud per se. Even if it's not as comical or entertaining as usual, there's still a good cast involved here. But otherwise, Quantumania is shockingly unremarkable. If the story was clunky, but the look of the movie was confident, assured, and engaging, there'd be something to write home about. But in trying to do everything with the story, screen effects, and setting, Peyton Reed doesn't create much of anything. The franchise in need of refreshment, but it's anything but a quantum leap. Rolling Stone is even blasting it. Until some sort of creative second wind blows in, casual moviegoers and deeply invested fanatics may have to simply keep enduring overly familiar, frustrating placeholders like this. The movie itself is merely killing time. I'm tired, overheard from a member of the audience at the end of the seemingly endless closing credit crawl at the critics screening. I hear you, lady. Believe me, I hear you. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is much ado about a lot of microscopic nothing. Like, it's getting blasted. Colored wall-to-wall with fake, cheap-looking CGI, the film looks like it was shot from inside the guts of a first-generation iPhone. There's an aesthetic emptiness to it all that is soul-crushing. Man, oh man, so much writing on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and it looks like these initial reactions, now the review embargo has lifted, the people who weren't willing to be so vocally negative about it, they're more than willing to write about it now. This is astounding to me. I thought for sure this is going to get good critic reviews, but as we're seeing, not only is the Marvel Cinematic Universe turning off audiences, but it seems like a lot of even the critics are finally catching on to the same thing over and over and over again from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Something that's incredibly light on any form of actual storytelling or character narrative. And instead, it's focused on all this other ancillary stuff. And for some people, it comes across as a focus on woke identity politics. That's what they're focused on instead of the story. We've seen the fan base start to reject the MCU. You just look at the past couple years, that is plain and obvious. When you look at the box office returns, when you look at the streaming numbers, and when you don't just look at the box office, when you look at the number of people going to the theaters. about 40%, almost 50% fewer people went to go see Wakanda Forever than went to see Black Panther. Same thing with Thor Love and Thunder compared to Ragnarok. Even though the box office totals are relatively close, when you look at the price of tickets, when you look at inflation, when you take all that into effect, Marvel's a dying brand right now. They need to do something. This was their something. Starting off, kicking off phase 5. And it looks like it could get even worse for Marvel, as not even the critics are really digging Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think there's a chance that this ends up as a huge box office disappointment. I didn't know if it was going to break $700 million at this point. It might be crazy if it breaks $650 or $600 million. And if that's what they're getting out of the box within phase 5, it looks like more of the same from the woke MCU. Let me know your thoughts about the critics basically slamming Quantumania in the comment section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.